lecture, I want to ask you some questions about public relations. Can you please explain us what is public relations?
Public relations is one of the ways of communicating. So you can communicate through advertisements, you can communicate through direct mail, you can communicate through the internet. Public relations is about that process, but it's a little bit more than that, because there is implementation, and if you like, implementation is about writing a press release and using intermediaries such as the paper or social media to get the message out. But also, and this is more important, is that it is strategic thinking about how to market a product, to market an idea, and it's a discipline which is around communication in the area of dealing with, as the name implies, publics.
And so, communications or public relations, which one do you prefer?
Personally, I prefer communication, because to me public relations is too limiting. Sometimes when you want to communicate with somebody, the best way to do it is advertising. Sometimes the best way to do it is through direct mail, and that's where I say, in strategic thinking about communication, we can call it public relations if you like, but in strategic thinking, it's about thinking which is the best tool to communicate this process, relations with public, to facilitate, make it happen.
What do you think about PR professionals who have different education? Do we have limitations in public?
Well, this is where I think we have to admit to ourselves that in strategic thinking, if all I have is I know how to write a press release, I know how to facilitate the transmission, I don't necessarily have the knowledge which is required to understand financial, to understand pharmacy, to understand agriculture. However, those sort of people with that background, we can teach them the importance of communication. And when they understand the importance of communication, that's where the implementation comes in. The implementation of communication using whichever tools you want to use.
How must be the relation between a journalist and public relations?
What is the relationship? Well, the relationship is simply one that the media is an intermediary between us and the people we want to talk to. So they are one channel of communication. So we give them the information, they make a judgment about whether that is interesting or not, whether it's newsworthy, and they publish it. And in that process, and IPRA has developed with journalists, with editors, what we call the Charter for Media Transparency. And that deals with that relationship between the journalist and the media. And the essential part of that is that the judgment as to what is published is based on journalistic values. It's not of what you paid, that's advertorial. It is respecting the professionalism of the journalist to make a decision about what is newsworthy, what is of interest to people who read his newspaper, listen to his radio or television.
What is the importance of public relations for a company?
Well, a company doesn't exist without its publics. Whether that public is the people that borrow, the people who give it money, the people it borrows money from, the staff who produce the product, the people who sell the product, and the customers who consume the product. So without those people, nothing happens. And as the name implies, public relations is about the relationships with all of those different groups.
How much important Golden World Awards for a company?
The important Golden World Awards are important for two things. One is it sets benchmarks for good work. So it demonstrates what good work is, judged by professionals. The second thing it does is it demonstrates that any company can do it, because the winners are not the people who spend a lot of money. They are the people who have creative ideas, who are able to leverage small budgets to get big results. What is the importance for a company? It is recognition by the peers. It's recognition by the peers of good work. And even those who don't win prizes tonight have actually won, because they've been considered worthy of entry. And that's a recognition in itself.
And what do you think about Turkish projects involving all of us?
Very good. No, I'm being very serious, because I believe that the good public relations can only really be practiced by people who were, in a sense, born in a country, who have the religious, the social and all the rest understanding of what life is about. And it's from that a good program is built, because it taps into those things. It taps in, it uses in creative ways ideas that maybe become a little bit stale. And that's the challenge. And that's what I see here. It's not a matter of learning from other people anymore. It's a matter of other people learning from what can be done here in a country which is, one, noted for its tolerance, two, has tackled the religious divide, three, has a very large population. It has a very mixed population of different groups, and they all work together.
And last question. In the future, where will you see the public relation?
In the future? Well, what you have to understand about public relations, I mentioned this earlier when I was talking about the media being the intermediary. What we in public relations are constantly doing is we are evolving. As new media develop, we think of new ways of using those media. So that's one level of evolution. The second is that there is a recognition now that not only have you to do good, but you have to be seen to be doing good. So you have to conform to certain standards of behavior, whether they're in business, whether they're in communication which is related to the observance of that. So that's another trend. But the other thing is that companies, organizations are now understanding that there is a requirement on them to communicate. And that's where I say, just thinking of ourselves as public relations is not enough. We have to think of ourselves as strategic people who understand the importance of relationships and who use communication to, one, build, two, nurture, three, rebuild, if necessary, those relationships.